What's up, YouTube? Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Prestige
and
Reef Dork.
Spotify.
And Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts from. Thank you, Ryan. My name's Alex. I'm Reef Dork. And with me, as always, is Ryan from the from the best coral selling website in the world, prestigereef.co.uk. Ryan, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Well, I'm all right at the moment, and I know I'm going to. One of the best things about being mates with Prestige Reef is that you get sympathy when you're not very well, and I've got a bit of a cold at the moment, man flu, which is nasty stuff.
Yeah,
really nasty. So I know you're going to be really sympathetic tonight.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
So I like how earlier you messaged me like, I'm not sure I feel like doing the stream tonight because I don't feel too good. And I went, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't go, oh, how are you? Are you okay?
No, I didn't notice that actually. But...
Yeah, I literally just went, okay, no problem.
I hadn't even thought about that, but no, that was yesterday. Because yesterday I stayed at my in-laws last night, yeah. And
that's why you felt unwell.
I started feeling ill on Friday night, but I didn't on Saturday. I didn't get out of bed till 2. It's like being a teenager.
Yeah.
But I feel better today. You can just hear it in my voice. But I'll power on.
Yeah.
Because
so what you're saying is everyone's lucky tonight because they don't realize how close they were to not seeing you.
Well, I'm not sure that makes people lucky, but but still, we are here, and despite having man flu, one of the nastiest diseases known to man, I'm going to crack on. So we'll see.
Let's go then.
That does mean I might be coughing, and that's doubly annoying for people who are just listening. You're like if you're just listening to a podcast, like if you're watching, the cough doesn't really distract you, but if all you're doing is listening, it's like, oh mate, press the mute button. So. But anyway, I'm going to power on. So, aside from being in good health at the moment, what's going on with you?
It's been a very quiet week for me, actually. Weirdly, not sure what it was this week. I suppose it's kind of like so you normally have a load of sales at the beginning of the month because everyone's just been paid, and then after the first week, it then sort of dies down a little bit slightly. So, for whatever reason, it was quiet this week. I have started working more on the water box tank. Now I've started to get some of the equipment which I've had for a while all plumbed in.
What have you set up?
I needed to drain one of the barrels outside, and it's 600 liters. So rather than and I can't siphon it because I could siphon some of it, but I couldn't siphon the last sort of like 40 liters of it because you obviously need to have a lower level when siphoning. So I thought I'm just going to get it taken out with the GHL Maxi Doser. So I put that in, which was used for the water change, and just siphoned 40 liters out today. So I was like, is this going to break this? And I was like, well, it shouldn't because that's literally what it's designed to do. It's designed to run continuously.
Heavy duty,
yeah. So that's what I did today. And that's just because
what's the Maxi Doser like? When you run it quite quick, they're quite noisy, aren't they? But what's it like? Have you only just started using it?
I've had it set up so they could do water changes, but I haven't really been doing them because there's nothing in there. So what's the point? It does have a noise to it. I don't know if it's any more noisy. It has a noise to it when it's run on like full power mode.
Yeah.
It can be. It's relatively noisy then. I plan to do the water change in the middle of the night, so I will be doing the water change probably like 5 in until 6, and then because it will take an hour to take
That's
10.
Quite quick.
Yeah,
10 liters.
Yeah, I think I worked out to do 11 or 11 and a half liters or whatever it would take about an hour to do. So I just thought if I get it done at 5 and I'm usually up at 7, it should be done. So
I've thought about that, and actually going back to the point of noise, so I use an Ecotech Versa. Well, I've got 2 that I've set up for dosing pumps. Water changes. Still haven't actually set it up properly.
Are they silent though?
When they run, like I've got one that feeds my Kalkwasser stirrer, and that runs at 3 liters for 12 hours or something.
Okay.
You could probably hear it if you like put it in a quiet room and sat next to it, but it's completely silent, or better put, it's quieter than any other of my equipment in my tank. But when either like every now and then I just need to I run like half a liter of water through it just to clear it, and I put it at its maximum speed. It's noisy then.
Yeah. I think anything with like moving parts that are moving that quick.
If you're running anything at 100%, it's noisy. But I think if you're even if you run it at like 50%, it's quiet. So that's what I'd expect the geochart to be as well.
It's the same as powerheads or lights. You think about it. If you run your lights at 100%, the fan comes on, so it's noisier.
Yeah, do you know, that's the one thing I don't like about Kessels is that the fan is on all the time. Like it never, even if when the Kessel's on at 1%,
it's
the fan's still on. Whereas like on my Reef Factory one, I ran that at 50% and the fan never came on.
Yeah,
and it does come on. I cranked up to 100% once, and it just to test it. But it's like, why that fan doesn't have to be on? Surely at 1%.
No, definitely not. The Ecotech lights I have, the fans are never on them. They're only run at like 40%. But for whatever reason, like you hardly, when I say never, that's an absolute. So they are on occasionally, but they never seem to get hot enough to actually need. But they are in an air-conditioned room, so maybe that's why. But I don't notice any noise coming from the lights at all from the Ecotech lights.
No, that's good. I think I only noticed the Kessel ones because they're in this room, and this is my quiet room. But it's quite a quiet noise, but still. And just I'll come back onto what you were talking about a second ago. But YouTuber says, "What car is that?" I don't know. It's badass. It says, "Has Alex told us what lights those are in the back? Other than Kessel, do I see blades?" Yes, you do. So they are 2 AI blade. What are the white ones called? Grow. I hate the names. Grow and Glow. Grow. They're 2 grows, and I bought this. I've got the exact same setup on my water box, which is just to my left, and I love it. So I bought 2 more. What else was I going to say? You were talking about something to do with you were talking about something about the.
Oh, I was talking about the barrel. So someone's asked why I drained it down. There were 2 reasons I drained it down. Firstly, the water, because I filled up the water for the water change like 4 months ago, and then the water just sort of sat there with not a lot, and it probably would have been fine, but I just thought, well, I'll just drain it, and then it takes 24 hours to fill it back up.
What water was that? Sorry.
So I just put RO water into the barrel. And I definitely think that with new plastic, you do get some stuff leaching out of them. That might just be anecdotal. I have no proof of that, but I'm sure silicates and stuff like that can come out of new plastic. So I just thought, this water's been sitting here for 4 months. I might as well just drain it and then fill it back up with new water. And the other reason was, for some reason, there was one worm in it.
A worm, like an earthworm?
An earthworm.
Okay.
Not like legit.
He would have had to climb up the barrel into the...
He would have climbed up the barrel and somehow found a tiny hole, which is just large enough for RO tube to fit into. And somehow got in. He was still alive.
Remember when I said putting a barrel of water outside your house would be a bad idea?
No, look, it's fine. Look, even if it had died in there, it still wouldn't have caused... You can lose an entire fish in your tank and it still doesn't cause a problem.
How many eggs do you reckon he laid in there?
None. Why would it be laying eggs in there? Earthworms don't live in water, I assume.
Going to find a nice, quiet, moist place. He was like, oh, yeah, lay my eggs here.
So I've drained that. It's now being filled back up, and then I'm going to put salt in it. It's
great.
Actually,
and that's what I was going to say, is because the reason that you haven't been doing water changes is because your nutrient levels are insanely low.
Yes. Yeah.
And this is from your Instagram post. This is 3 parts per billion phosphorus, which translates to 0.09 phosphate. You put 0.08, but it's 0.009 parts per million. So 0.03 is normally good. You're a whole level, a decimal place below that.
Yes, but remember, there are corals in that tank, but there's not many corals in that tank, and because there's not been any fish in there, that's why it's been so low.
Are you ghost feeding? Are you feeding the tank any food? I can't remember.
Yeah, because there's shrimp in there, so I am feeding the tank, and there's actually clownfish in there now.
Of course, yeah.
So I put a cube of mysis in. It'll be interesting to see if all of a sudden I'll have an explosion of algae, because we'll see. Look, there's plenty of urchins in there still, but the yellow tang's in quarantine at the moment. So give it 3 weeks, and then I've got a fish in there to eat the algae.
Yeah, okay, 3 weeks, cool. So this is your second fish that you've quarantined. Well, it was just a yellow tang you've got there.
No, I got 3 fish in there. I got a yellow tang, majestic angel, and the yellow assessor that's in there. And so far, so good. Yeah, I like to give people updates on the quarantine because I was nervous. I was skeptical myself. Even to some extent, I think you were as well, because I think you tried quarantining before, didn't you? Yeah. And yeah, as long as you follow what has been tried and tested, with, as far as I'm concerned, these products are the safest option. You shouldn't lose them. The next fish I'll be quarantining is the king eye, though. So that takes it up a notch.
Higher, yeah.
We'll
I think part of the reason I was not successful early on is because it was I'd only got my first ever tank. I only just got a tank, so I didn't know anything.
Yeah,
and I think there are just some things. I'm sure I made a load of stupid mistakes, but there are just some things that you kind of you're less likely to make the longer you've been in the hobby. But
were you actively treating them with copper?
No. Well, I went through. I tried just observation, and I still lost fish when that happened.
Oh, really?
Bizarrely, but I was also trying. I don't think I ever tried copper. I can't remember. I don't think I did. So it was literally 7 years ago now. But I tried chloroquine phosphate, which is malaria tablets.
Yeah,
and that didn't go well for me. Follow the instructions, but the type of copper you use is like key if you're going to use copper, because there's not all copper is created equally. Some of it dissipates out of the tank, so you've got the one that stays at the right
stays the
level,
same, which is copper power, which I got from America. But so if anyone is going to do it, that's what I would recommend. I think I don't know if it's for sure, but I'm sure one of the big, not Worldwide Corals. Who are the other people that are right next?
Reef?
No, yes, yeah.
Top Chef Aquatics.
Yes, I think that they had the instructions for it on the website, so I don't know if they're the ones that actually make it. But it doesn't say.
Really?
It doesn't say it on their thing. But yeah, do you know what I found interesting? Someone came to they might even be listening now. Someone came to the farm yesterday or the day before yesterday, and they had seen the live streams, but they had never ever seen a picture of the farm. So they walked in having no idea what to expect, even though they watch every single live stream and it gets mentioned every single week.
Was he impressed or disappointed?
I think he was impressed, but that's that's the reason I put a picture out of the farm on my Instagram to go. This is what it looks like. But yeah, so that's I think, as I said, that's basically my week in reefing. It's not been that exciting, if I'm honest. I'm waiting for some new coral glue to turn up, so I can't even do any frags.
Coral glue. Have you ordered like a big tube or something?
Yeah. I'm waiting for some of the Ecotech glue. I was using BRS's glue, which I was getting off eBay, but the guy who was selling it on eBay has obviously run out because he hasn't got any more. So, and it's not that easy to get hold of.
No. Well, actually, your experience with ultra low phosphate is handy for I like weird fish. Who says, will my LPS and softies really suffer from low nutrients? And I think, well, you've got SPS that like low nutrients, but yours are so low that even your SPS are pissed off.
Yeah,
well,
they're not pissed off. They're growing.
Yeah,
they don't look colourful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, completely. But yes, absolutely. LPS and softies like a bit more nutrient. And someone else asked about, are there any? So Aquatic Interest says, are there any corals that need a little phosphate?
All of them.
So every coral needs phosphate. I'm not sure if you're asking, are there any corals that like low levels of phosphate? Or are there, or do you mean need a little phosphate, like need a lot of phosphate? So,
yeah, I think that's what it is. It's the second
low
one.
Levels.
No, I think he's saying, are there any corals that prefer higher phosphates?
LPS and softies. But yeah, and even SPS don't want Well, maybe they do. They want ultra low nutrients unless
they don't want it that low.
No, unless you're doing something like, what's that German method called? KZ, where you've got like 25 bottles. And
I know what it is. The one where you have to like
Korallenzucht.
That's it. Yeah.
Zeovit.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
you've got to pump the rocks.
Yes.
So you basically keep nitrate and phosphate at 0, but you add in all sorts of things. You add in bacterias, you add in coral foods, amino acids, all these things. Some of the tanks look amazing. Look at, if you've never seen a Zeovit tank before, Google Zeovit aquarium. They look spectacular. Very distinct color, pastel kind of light and bright SPS coral.
Sickly.
Well, you could argue that, yeah.
Have you ever seen one in real life though?
No.
Because neither have I. So how much? I know what you're talking about. I'm assuming you're gonna get a picture up now.
Yeah.
With regards to those like pastel-y colors, especially like the yellows and the pinks. But I wonder if that's part of that is because of the photography of it as well.
Because do you know, I've seen so many though that I think it would be like, and they all look the same. So I don't think, unless everybody's doing the exact same thing to their photos, which is
no, I definitely agree that it does give them that effect. Because even the corals in the water box, they are like pastel-y colored. They're very like light yellow. They're almost like translucent, aren't they?
Yeah.
But you can see they're encrusting onto the rocks, so they're obviously happy. Yeah, that's literally what some of the Millipora look like.
That's these, and this is how a lot of corals look when they've just come into the country out of when they've been imported. Actually, they just got this. They look a bit thin, not thin, but just starved. But they look spectacular. The tanks are incredible. That's not loading, annoyingly. The tanks look absolutely fantastic. But the trouble is, there are certain things. So you get these zeolites. They're basically a bunch of rocks in a zeolite reactor, and you've got the pump that you have to pump that disturbs all the rocks. You have to do that every day, and that's what keeps your nutrients at 0. And then you have to add in, I've never actually done it, so I might be speaking out of turn, but I'm pretty sure that's right. And then you have to add in various drops of various bottles all the time, and it's like, I kind of would love to do it, but when I looked into it before, I was like, well, what do you do if you go and see a mate on the weekend? Does it matter if you don't do it for 2 days in a row? Probably not. But what if you want to go on holiday? Or your corals are going to die, or
someone's got to feed the tank if you go on a holiday. So I'm sure you can get them to do this.
Yeah, but do you want to be like going, you need to pump the Zeovit reactor, and I need you to add 3 milliliters of amino acids.
Oh, you have
1
no
milliliter
idea
of coral snow.
I leave like a guidebook when I go away.
I don't think I'd want to trust. I wouldn't trust myself with Zeovit, let alone
when I go away. I measure out all the food into little pots. I measure out all the salt into little pots, into like bags. And there's like this very detailed set of instructions.
All the salt?
Yeah. Remember, I go away for like
you get them to do water changes.
Okay. Yeah. 6 weeks water change, and I'm doing them every week. Yeah, it's too much. So yeah, they the guy comes, does it. They eat twice a week when I go away.
Okay. There's Shane Tattoo Man wants to talk about ChemiClean chat, please. He asked a question earlier. I did see it, but I can't find it. It's disappeared already. Have you ever used ChemiClean?
No, that's for cyanobacteria, isn't it?
Correct. Which I currently have in the Cade tank, although I'm in the process of beating it. And I stirred up a load of it today, and most of it's gone. But no, I used ChemiClean once.
Yeah.
And it was on my main tank, my Red Sea Reefer Peninsula 500, when it must have been set up, I don't know, 6 months. I can't remember, but there weren't many corals in it. There was a clam in it, but there weren't many corals in it. So I was like, you know what, bit of chemical, fine, whatever. And it cleared up. The chemical instructions say within 48 hours, you'll be sorted. It took at least a week, maybe 2 weeks from memory to get rid of it, but it did work. But I'd be reluctant. Like now my tank's absolutely packed full. I'm probably not going to get cyno in a mature tank like that anyway. But now it's packed full. I think I'd be a bit more reluctant to use it. But there are some people who do micro doses of ChemiClean to keep your corals healthy, because it's erythromycin, I think, or it's a type of
it's an antibiotic, isn't it?
Yeah, which is, and there are some people who are starting to experiment with that as a good thing for the tank. Not so I mean, but the trouble with, like, if you overdose anything, like a little is good. a lot is not good. So
I'll let them do the experimenting.
Yeah, well, exactly. But no, chemically, I've used it once and it did work. But I would personally be reluctant to use it on an established tank with a load of corals, because I can't even remember if my corals salt or not. A skimmer went crazy.
Yeah,
which it's supposed to. But just float. You got to take the lid off and let it keep running. But it just goes crazy.
How do you feel about, you know, how you didn't like the advertising for Vibrant? How do you feel about the advertising for this then? Because if you read it, it says red slime remover. It doesn't say deals with cyanobacteria.
Yeah,
there's a very specific reason for that, because I think if there's something to do with some sort of like regulation, so that's why they have to put it down as slime.
And it doesn't say it's erythromycin. I think that's just people in the hobby speculate, or people, you know, it's not really speculating. Well, it kind of is, but I never really thought about it. I think the issue with that is it's not pretending. The issue with Vibrant was they were acting like it was bacteria and water.
Yeah.
And there's nothing. No one's got any problem with putting bacteria in their tank. Everyone will do it, whether it does anything good, but it's not going to do anything bad. And the reality is, it was an algicide.
Yeah.
Now I just don't like that. But I don't really care. But what's hang on? Does anyone microdose isopropyl alcohol? Are you crazy? I don't know if that's like a thing.
I'm not even sure that is.
So isopropyl alcohol is really good at getting, like, if you've got sticky marks, like sellotape marks or whatever on the glass, it's really good at getting that off.
It's crazy, some of the things that people do with their tanks. Who was the first person who went, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to pour some vodka.
Yeah, exactly.
Vodka in my tank. See,
well, it probably was someone who was pissed off their face, accidentally I spilt a load of vodka, and then the next day it's like, oh my god, my tank looks amazing. I've got to do that again.
Or it was someone who was drunk and was like, I know what I'm going to do. I'll get my fish drunk.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but
yeah, does anyone microdose isopropyl alcohol? I can only assume that is a form of carbon dosing, because you can dose vodka. I don't know. But I don't even know what isopropyl alcohol is, as in what its chemical constitution is. But no.
Jay's Real Reef asked if I'd leave my tanks with you. I would not leave my tanks with Alex, because I respect Alex too much.
Your corals.
I know.
You respect me too much.
Because no, I wouldn't want to give you that responsibility, because when I go away, my tanks literally are left with my neighbor, who knows nothing about fish, never had a fish tank, nothing at all, who comes in every day to feed them, and also the guy from the fish shop comes twice a week. Now, I accept full responsibility. If I asked you to look after my tanks, I'd expect them to be better than when I left.
Well, you'd come back and find that you're dosing calquasser.
Yes, true.
And you'd have a lot more flow, and I'd have turned your lights up, and all your corals would have bleached. So
if you're going to get someone, I know it was a theoretical question. If you're going to get someone to look after your tank, they need to live within 5 minutes of your house.
Yeah. It would be an hour, just over an hour, I think.
Yeah. So, so when can I book you in?
Well, yeah. Do you know what my hourly rate is?
Actually, I do.
Oh, that sounds suspicious. It's a different service, Ryan. We'll talk about it later.
Okay. Oh God. I'm not sure if it was meant to come out like that.
He's got there. But there we go. So there was, do you know what? It's one thing I noticed. So like last weekend was still relatively hot in the UK. I think we've had like the hottest ever September, October, whatever. And then suddenly the last week it's got freezing cold. And the first thing I noticed about winter being here, or autumn being here now, was that my RODI filter is taking ages to produce water, twice as long as it did even a few weeks ago. Yeah, because got 2 booster pumps and a 500-gallon per day membrane. But yeah, so it just, in the summer, it's temperature, isn't it? It affects it massively, and just it takes so long to make water. I say so long, it takes about half an hour to make 25 liters, whereas in the summer it's quarter of an hour on my system, because it's quite a big system, which is probably similar to yours, maybe.
I think mine's 120 gallons a day. But at the moment, it's being left on all day, all night, all day, all night. I haven't turned it off for like 3 days, I don't think.
That's the one bad thing about mine. Mine's a Viair. Oh, is it Viair? Viair V400 or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. But it's quite expensive, but it's got double. It's really good. It's got double booster pumps, but it can only run with the booster pumps on.
Okay. I know my booster pumps are on as well.
Oh, really?
You're meant to. You're only meant to run them for like an hour, aren't you?
Yeah.
I learned a long time ago. You can run them as much as you want, and I've had it literally running like that. It's mine's it's a self-regulating one. I had one which wasn't self-regulating, but this one is self-regulating now. And yeah, one day I thought I'm just going to leave it on longer an hour, see what happens, and it was fine. And then 5 hours later, still fine. I went, I'm going to leave it on overnight, and so it's been on for like 3 days now.
Okay, that's good. Well, but the trouble is, so even if it wouldn't damage the pump, which apparently it doesn't, even if that wasn't an issue for me, because mine produces water so quickly, and I never need more than 100 liters in a day if I'm doing water changes and all that sort of stuff. It's like if I were to leave it on overnight, I've got shutoffs, of course, but if it didn't shut off, I would have a lot of water overflow. A lot.
It's different. if it went on the floor in the coral farm, or obviously overflow the barrel outside, it wouldn't matter too much. I literally need like 2,000 liters of water at the moment. I get through so much of it.
Yeah. Is that for water changes or for?
Well, I've just filled up the. Oh, that's the thing I didn't mention. So I sent you a message earlier in the week. I think it was on Tuesday. For the first time in 4 months, I've had to fill up my RO barrel.
Oh yeah.
So I have for the people who don't know, I decided to get a 600 liter auto top up container, which I put out the back, so directly behind the wall where the tank is, and I had no idea how long it would last, and I found out that it lasted 4 months, because I think the other day, it was about 8 o'clock at night, I was like, why are there bubbles in the water box tank? And it was because obviously the water had dropped down to the level. It doesn't change the salinity because it's only like this much. It's only like a tiny amount of water. And then that notified me that I needed to fill up, and that's what I've done. So yeah, so just think about me, everyone. Every week when you'll go, or even sometimes more than once a week when you're filling up your auto top up, 4 months mine lasts.
See, that's one thing that would bother me as well, is that like I know that my auto top off lasts about 10 days, but maybe 2 weeks at a push. But I know I have to fill it up every week.
Yeah.
Whereas if I don't know how long it lasts,
it doesn't matter.
Over the course of 4 months. Yeah, but what if you didn't notice that? What if you went away for a day, or
Yeah, but I would have to notice, because it starts going where it's like starts sucking air in, doesn't it?
What if you were away? What if you went, I'm just going to go to see my parents this weekend?
Well, I'm
going to go on holiday.
Well, I'll worry about that in 4 months' time, because I've just filled it up.
I'm just going to prepare a big list of I told you so's with that, because I just don't like the idea.
Well, no, I'm sure it'll be fine. I've got a salinity monitor on there from the GHL, although they do, like all salinity monitors, lose calibration. So, but yeah, no, look, don't try and like frighten me. Don't get your like I told you so's all lined up ready.
Too late.
We will. As I say, I'm actually really, really happy I did it, because I was like, I could just get a smaller one. I'm like, no, 600 liters.
Go hard or go home.
Yeah. So yeah. What about you? You haven't told me about your week in reefing.
No, how long have you? Half an hour. Wicked. All right. What have I
half an hour to say I've basically done nothing.
You've done nothing.
I topped up my RO water.
I've not done a massive amount. And I realised today, I went into my local fish shop and I was looking at a couple of corals, and one was 20 quid. And I was like, I spent all my money. I probably shouldn't buy that.
Did you buy it?
No, I didn't. No, I was good.
20 quid?
I had the credit card on me. But there was another one that was 100 quid.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, if I'm going to get one, I might as well get two. And I was like, just
so
wait,
then you left.
because I get paid next week. And it's like, just chill out. It's not good. It's not good. Even if you're going to clear it next week, it's not good to put stuff, a coral on a credit card. It's ridiculous, isn't it? But
what coral was it?
Trachyphyllia.
Oh yeah, you said little one, didn't you?
Gonny, yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, so I've not really bought anything, which is very unusual for me. But what I've been thinking about two things. So firstly, the K tank behind me. I've been thinking about this for a little while now. You can't really see it that well, but there are basically two rock islands. The one that side, it has got the bright torch coral on it. Sorry, bright trumpet coral, and then it's got a couple of rock flower anemones either side that you can't really see there, and then a few torches at the top, and then there's the GSP there. Basically, that's all green. And when I look at it, I'm like, it's not completely all green. There's like some orange in there, but it's just like it looks pretty much green. And I've fallen into what I think is a newbie trap
of buying green stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't. The other rock actually looks wicked. It's not grown out yet, but it's got some nice at the back. It's got some nice Duncans, and then at the front, it's got a really nice purple Favites. It's got a blue Cyphastria, and then an orange Jack-o'-lantern Leptoceras. So when that's all grown out completely, it'll look wicked. So that looks really nice. But the other rock, the main rock, I just think looks crap. Like the corals all individually are nice. Yeah, but it's just a big wash of green.
They're easy to remove. Obviously, the green star polyps not so much, but the other ones you can remove.
The green star polyps are on their own island, so I can whip them out whenever I want.
Okay.
But the torches and all that, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move on all the torches. And what I realised with that tank, it was like I wanted that to set up that tank partly because I want a tank in the background behind me on YouTube videos, because then when someone clicks on the video, you see an aquarium and you know it's an aquarium channel. Which I know is the sort of thing you laugh at.
Well, no, I was laughing because of my background, but yes.
This is very true. But that's part of the reason I want that there. But I also I wanted to have a tank. When I set up, that was originally the Fluval, and I wanted that to be an easy LPS tank, low maintenance LPS tank. But now I've decided, actually, I've already got an LPS tank in here, my water box to my left.
Yeah,
that's too big to go behind me. But what's the point of having two LPS tanks that are just exactly the same, but one's got worse corals than the other?
So what are you doing?
I'm going to do something different with it.
Okay.
And I've decided I'm going to get rid of the torches.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do something I've never done.
Soft corals. No, you've done soft corals.
Bubble tip anemone.
I got one of those.
I've never had a bubble tip. Which is crazy.
I was expecting something exciting. I'm sorry.
That's like, that's exciting.
No, bubble tip. First, well, if you've never had one, you can only keep one type. I don't know if you know that. So people try and mix green and pink ones, even if they're not touching each other.
I was talking to someone about that. Was I talking to you about that the other day?
Possibly. We talk too much.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe. Actually, I think we did. Yeah. But yeah, either way, you can only keep one per tank, like one speed type.
Yeah. Yes, we were talking about the BRS tank.
Yes.
Yeah, complete. But no, that's fine. I just want one in there. I think it'd be cool. And they're relatively cheap, but rose bubble tip anemones.
Yeah.
I don't know if the light will be strong enough. Apparently they need a lot of light.
No.
You don't think so?
No, not at all. Mine are actually in like probably about 100 par.
Cool. That's probably 150 par at the top of that.
Yeah,
assuming it stays put.
Yeah,
I just think that'd be really cool.
They do roam around.
I've got clowns in there, and I don't know how I'm going to get them to go into the. They might just go in on their own accord after a month or two, but
it's unlikely, if I'm honest. Most clowns don't host bubble tips for whatever reason.
No, the pink skunk clowns are the best ones for hosting, I think.
Yeah.
But I've heard, and I don't think this is just bollocks, although it sounds it. But if you put an iPad next to the tank with a video of clownfish in an anemone, so people have said that works. It sounds like the sort of thing that someone says to you to like get you to do it, and then they laugh at you. Like, did you really try that?
Well, if you do that, can you film it so that we can see the results?
Yeah, I'll do. I'll do it. Yeah, I will. But clownfish tend to find something that they like to host anyway. Yeah. Mine in this tank, they just kind of swim around rock at the moment. They've not really found a coral, but in my main tank downstairs, they swim around my zoas and bury themselves in the zoas.
Yeah.
So
I think I have had 3 different sets of clownfish with bubble tip anemones. Not one of them hosted. Oh no, not wait, I can never remember which way around it goes. But if you say that the clowns host, people get really mad. So
yeah, the bubble tip anemone is the host because
yes,
it's like if you it's your house, you're the host. Yeah.
Yes. And they would choose to live in something else, like a Duncan's coral or a torch coral. Currently, I have a pair. One lives in the Duncans, the others live in the frog spawn. They're a pair. The female lives in the frog spawn, the male lives in the Duncans. No idea why.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing I would expect. The sort of thing like showing him a video and all that sort of stuff. I'm not expecting that to work, and it's the sort of thing that I would think after 6 months I'll just come in one day and suddenly they'll be in it.
Yeah.
Or they just never will. But either way, I just love the idea of, I just think, you know what, what's the point of having 3 tanks that are all the same? Why not do something different? And especially, and what's different for me, bubble tip anemone. Now, people always ask me, I get asked so much about bubble tip anemones, what they're like. And I always like, don't I never get one, sorry. Reefkeeper says, I've kept a green and red bubble tip anemone together for several years without issues.
There you go. People love telling me I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's great fun. Yeah.
Well, all I will say is that I have actually had both of them together. Usually the pink one doesn't survives and the green one doesn't, and that's exactly what BRS found from their their clownfish harem tank.
Harem tank, yeah.
Harem tank, yes. They tried multiple bubble tips and only the pink one survived. So
interesting.
Just saying. Basically, I'm saying BRS backs me up.
Yeah. Well, Das Lettuce says he put an iPad next to his tank with QuickBooks open. Now he's doing his taxes.
There you go.
So there you go. Cool. So I want to change that into I'm worried that like half of that tank I like, the other half is just green, and I'm just like so I want to do something different, something that will keep it interesting for me. Otherwise, if it's a tank I don't like, I'll neglect it.
That's the problem. I did wonder if that will happen or is already happening for you, because that's what's happened with the water box for me. At the moment, my focus is on the coral farm. The water box is an extra tank that I don't have to deal with at this moment in time, whereas the other ones I have to deal with. So you always choose like the easy option.
I just realized what I should have said at the start of the stream is we'll talk about the headline topic, the news update, the AI pumps, all that sort of stuff. We'll talk about it probably about an hour and a half in.
Yeah, don't worry about these people that complain.
I know, I forget, but I'll put a pinned comment. So if you're watching this 2 days time and you've got this far, you're going bloody hell, Alex, come on, just look for the pinned comment. Anyway, you go for one you think is the easiest.
Well, you just do. If there's one that's going to be left at the moment, the water box walls get left for me, and I wonder if that's what's happening with you, because you're the same as me. You have 3 systems. My systems are obviously much bigger, but they're still just 3 systems. So it's 3 sets of water, 3 tanks to clean, and I just wondered if that's what you're finding.
I find I neglect them all, and actually, because there's like testing is the worst thing for me, because I got 3 sets of testing is just like, oh god. Because you've got it really on 2 of my tanks, I've got an automatic alkalinity tester, although on my main one it's currently broken and I'm waiting for a replacement.
Yeah.
So I just haven't tested it.
Would you recommend that people, because this is a natural progression for people in the hobby, they get 1 tank and then they get another tank and then they get another tank.
Yeah.
Do you see? I wouldn't recommend people have multiple tanks. I would just wonder if that's what you thought.
Multiple tanks feels like the dream.
It's not.
I'm not sure it is.
It's not at all.
What I do love is that my water box, I feel like I say this every week now. My water box has got gunnies in it. It's just full of LPS and it looks amazing. I love it so much.
Yeah.
And it's different from my main tank, which is all Aquapora basically, and a couple of Montes. Bastard Montes. So having something different, that's really wicked. Absolutely worth it. Well, absolutely worth it. That's really cool. But every effort is doubled. And because this tank is upstairs, it makes it even worse. Because when I do a water change, it's 33 litres. That's 33 kilos of water I've got to bring upstairs.
And you haven't got the biggest arms, have you?
I got spindly little pipe cleaner arms. And I only have a 25-litre barrel, so I normally end up doing 3 journeys, because you could do it in 2 journeys. But it's so and then you've got to wait by your RODI filter for 20 minutes to fill up, and it's like and everything becomes a massive pain. So on these tanks upstairs, I now do 33-litre water changes every other week, so fortnightly rather than weekly, because I just can't be bothered to do it twice. It's just a lot of effort. So 3 tanks is too many. There are some people who've got loads, by the way. 3 tanks is too many. But I'm finding at the moment that my Red Sea Reefer, my main tank, is the tank I like the least.
Your main tank is the one you like the least.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's not true.
Is that because it's the one you've had the longest?
Yeah.
So it's it's not a novelty anymore.
This is true, and that's part of why I'm wondering with my water box. I'm wondering if I would really like an LPS tank long term.
Yeah.
Or if it's just new. But the trouble with my main tank is I made so many mistakes that I can't undo now. And it's not what I wanted it to be. And so I've got that Sunset Monty is even worse than the Tropic Thunder Monty now. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's getting to the point where it's going to start climbing up the glass in the next month or two. It's already on the glass on the bottom. But the other main problem I've got with that is because I've rescaped it probably 3 or 4 times over the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Some of the corals are, I've got one of my aquos is like a foot long. It's massive. I've got a load of big colonies like that, and then half the other corals are frags.
Yeah,
so it just looks weird, and so I just don't like it, and it's just annoying. But what's really annoying is I've got some lovely corals in there that look fantastic, and I want to see what they're like when they're a colony. But realistically, the rate of growth I get a year if I'm lucky. So do I want to keep going for another year, 2 years maybe?
So the only way
in 2 years' time, if I just left it, it would be as I wanted it, I reckon.
Yeah. But so the only way you could actually turn that into an LPS tank is literally start again.
Yeah.
It's not like you could keep all the rock and just take all the corals out, because you can't even get some of the Monty out.
No, I could. What I could do is rip all the corals off the rock.
Yeah.
Remove the rock, and then just put it in fresh water for a week.
Yeah.
But that's the only way I could. And if I do have the option of just stripping everything out, draining the tank,
bigger tank installed. Yeah, I see where we're going with it,
and leaving it as it is, and then filling it back up again a month later and putting LPS in it, or going bigger.
Well, look, I've been encouraging you to get a bigger tank for ages.
I know. I really like the idea, but I really like the idea that you don't. I don't think you like this. The water box frag tank, 16 inches tall.
No, terrible idea. There's nothing wrong with that tank, but it's a frag tank. It's not a main display tank. Although,
it's not a frag tank. They just call it frag. The water box frag series. It's not. But I said my water box LPS tank is
16 inches tall.
16 inches tall.
That's not.
But the thing is, my water box LPS tank with all the gunnies in it, that's 16 inches tall. It's a 55 gallon frag.
Yeah,
it's wicked. I love it.
Yeah, but that's in a small room. That's not like in your main living room.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't make one. And also the thing is with that, that's about $2,500.
Yeah.
And if I was going to get a bigger one, it's weird because basically all the tank brands are roughly the same as far as I'm concerned. DD, Cade, Waterbox, and Red Sea. There's pros and cons of all of them.
Yeah.
With the Waterbox tank, I really like that one in particular, and the LX range that you've got. But if I was going to go bigger, I really like the Red Sea 850S. I think that looks fantastic.
I think I've seen one of those like fully set up. I think
really?
With a full reef in it.
Oh.
Are they the ones that it's got like a glass brace around the top?
Yeah, glass brace.
Yeah, I have seen
armored seams.
It is a nice tank.
Really nice. It's $5,000. It's double the price.
Oh.
So, but I don't know. But I do think about it. I'm just not happy with the tank.
Tank. You're probably not going to be happy with your next tank either.
I'm never going to be happy with anything, Ryan. Ever. Well, fish tanks or anything.
You need to learn a bit about stoicism, where it's accepting basically it's not, other things can't make you happy. Only inside makes you happy, and then you'll love everything.
Yeah, but
it's funny because I did wonder if you would lose interest in one of those tanks. It's just interesting that it's your oldest tank, the one you like the least.
To be honest, the tank I've neglected the most is the Cade. I've only started in the last month or so. I've picked it back up again, so it looks all right. The sand bed even a week ago, if you wind back and watch the stream from last week, which you're not going to do, but I bet you could see cyno all across the sound bed. I got cyno. So some people talk about cyno and dinos as part of the ugly stage. It's not. It's not. Absolutely not. When people talk about the ugly stage, and like sometimes I see people refer, oh, you're just going through the dino stage. No. The dino stage doesn't exist. People like the ugly stage is part of an aquarium cycling. So because you get algae growing, you get lights on, you get an algae bloom, and you get diatoms, all that sort of stuff. That is the cycle. That's the ugly stage. Dinos and cyno, that's if you only get that if you've done something wrong. That's not a natural part of a tank setting up. And I got it on my K tank because I completely neglected it. Didn't test anything for 2 months. Long time, and my alkalinity got down to 4. My nitrates were 0, my phosphates were high, and so everything was crap. But the last month or so I've picked up again, and actually it's looking all right, and the corals are all still fine. I tested my alkalinity 7.4 now.
There you go, almost there. Well, actually, that's basically seawater level, isn't it?
I'm not trying to get it up higher than that. I don't really care, 7, 8, 9, whatever, that's fine. But that's the thing. Like the K tank, I did neglect for sure. Partly because I broke my hand, and it's much more difficult doing maintenance on that because I have to lift the barrel up.
Do you want me to bring out my sympathetic version of myself now, or should we?
No need.
No,
I don't want to put you out. But so actually maintenance on that tank was much harder than maintenance on my tank downstairs because I've got the auto water changer. So all I need to do is lift up 2 tubes. Don't need to lift up a barrel of water. And I've got around that up here now. But anyway, but no, I've picked up on it now. But I find testing is my Achilles heel. Like if I don't tend to neglect water changes. Sometimes I do, but not as a general rule. Whereas I can go a long time without testing because I'm like, oh.
I do it every week religiously. Like it's for me, it's no different to like, as you say. No, well, you say you every week you fill up your auto top up. For me, it's like that. On a Monday, I do my testing. And it's been like that for years.
I wish I was like that.
You can always find time, even if you do it in the evening or whatever. You can always find time to do it. It's just about deciding that this is what's going to happen and sticking to it.
I tend to go in spurts. So I'll tend to go for a couple of months. I'll do it every week. And then for a couple of months, I won't do it at all. But
how's your phosphate doing? Because now you're monitoring it every day.
So the bloody thing is not working at the moment.
Oh, isn't it?
No, and I can't be asked to fix it because it said, what did it say? Let me see if I can bring it up. And I think the fix is actually really easy. It tells you how to fix it, but I just couldn't be bothered to do it. But let me tell you what it says. It said it was a problem with the color meter or whatever. Hang on a second. Smart test. I'll get up because this is worth mentioning. Current values. Smart tester. Come on, where is it? Here we go. Right. It says photometry circuit doesn't work. Code 300. And what happened was, I tried to run a test, and it gives you a code that you go and look up, and what that means is that the bit that reads the color, like the Hannah checker bit, that isn't working properly, and it says it's probably because the sample container is dirty, so wash it, and it looks a bit steamy, my sample container, so maybe it's got fingerprints on it or whatever. So what I need to do is unplug that, clean it, and put it back in, which is like a 5 minute
can't be bothered.
No, it's just like, oh god. But I keep meaning to do it, but no. So I don't actually know at the moment, annoyingly. But it had got down to below 0.1, which was wicked.
That's what I was, and this was on your main tank.
Yeah.
Because you've had high phosphate for a long time on that tank, and that's what I find interesting. All of a sudden, you get a tester and it's coming down. It's because you can see the results of your work, whereas when you couldn't see the results of your work, it wasn't satisfying.
Yeah, and it's just, and the thing is, even when I go through a process of a few months where I'm testing every week, it's not the same. And you need having that extra feedback is brilliant. There are a lot of people, in the comments of that video and on Facebook everywhere have talked about the smart tester, saying it for a start. main comment is that it's expensive, which it is.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. So that's fair enough.
Especially but a lot of people, if it's not working.
Well, exactly. But that's my fault.
Yeah.
Although, yeah, I do wonder if, I don't know, maybe I've got fingerprints on it, whatever. Anyway, whatever. It's an easy fix. But the other criticism was people said, I don't need it. I can understand why you need it for alkalinity, but you don't need phosphate every day.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, when the alkalinity testers came out, people said the same thing. And actually, having phosphate tested every day, you don't need it. Absolutely. Like if you're setting up a tank thinking, do I need this? No, you don't. But it's really useful.
Yeah.
Really useful. There's brilliant data to have.
That's the one that I would like to have every day. Other than alkalinity, that's the one thing that I'd like to have every day. Obviously, temperature and salinity and all those. Even salinity is not, and the temperature stays the same all the time. It's because the two that I have to adjust the most are alkalinity and phosphate. So those are the ones that would be useful to have automatic tests for.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd want it. I wouldn't want nitrate every day. I don't think it wouldn't make.
I wouldn't mind, but I'd certainly like to have it every week. The thing is, if you're testing phosphate, really you want to know what your nitrate is as well.
Yeah.
At least have a pulse on it, because like if your nutrients are out of balance, I'm not really that fussed about Redfield ratio, all that sort of stuff, or getting them perfect. But what I am fussed about is having 1 0 and 1 really high.
Yeah.
So ideally I'd like to know both, but once a week I'd be all right with nitrates once a week, because if your nitrates 0 out, which is really my only fear, in the space of a week, it's not going to go crazy. Over the course of a few weeks, it might do. So if you're testing every week, but anyway.
Sir Stu asked what I test. I test calcium, alkalinity, magnesium, phosphate, and nitrate. I'm going to say every week. Magnesium occasionally actually is not every week, but I'll just include it in the list. I would do magnesium probably 2 weeks to every month. And then occasionally I'll have ICP tests done on them as well. Usually if there's something I'm like, something that's changed color, or that looks a bit weird, or the gonnies aren't opening as much, so I go, it's something low. So that's when I do the ICP tests, and obviously temperature and salinity.
Yeah, do you know what? So I've got a spreadsheet of everything I test, and it's the same: nitrate, phosphate, salinity, calcium, magnesium. Alkalinity isn't showing on that because I test it automatically. But on my water box, it is showing as alkalinity, and my cave as well. But yeah, so I try to test those, and they're the ones you should be testing every week, really.
Yeah,
you could probably get away with dropping magnesium to once a month.
You have to realize that my water probably changes a lot more than your water as well, because corals are coming in and out all the time. So, you know, that, I don't know if you saw on my Instagram post, I've got this massive Montipore. It's huge. Like, I'm not even sure how I'm going to go.
Yeah. I saw that. I was like, whoa.
Well, that's going to Jamie. So when that comes out of the tank, that is going to, I reckon there'll be a significant impact on alkalinity when that comes out, because that's huge. It's like, I don't know how big it is, but it's over a foot wide, definitely.
It's 2 foot wide.
Yeah. So that's obviously going. So once that goes, I need to make sure I'm on top of my alkalinity to see if all of a sudden it starts shooting up.
That's when alkalinity testers, automatic alk testers, really come into their own, because you can then set it to test every hour.
Yeah. And
then if suddenly your dosing goes through the roof or through the floor, you can take action straight away.
Yes.
Yeah. That's brilliant. Yeah, that was. Yeah, I did see that. It was a big old coral.
Yeah. So obviously, there's some days where 100, 150 frags will go out in one day. If I'm doing all the mystery boxes, which all have 6 in them, it's not unusual for that to go out. So whereas most people just add coral to their tank, so I have to be careful. And obviously, the other thing, when your phosphates are coming down, your alkalinity starts to decrease as well, because obviously the corals start to consume it.
Yeah.
So I have to keep an eye on things. That's probably why I test religiously. There's a tremendous amount of investment in mine.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, there's the same with mine. It's probably a tenth of yours, but still enough to bother testing once a week.
Yeah, well then you should.
But this is I do for the most part. I do actually. When I look back at sometimes how I get lazy with testing, and then I look back at my spreadsheet, which I keep a record of all for the last couple of years is like, actually, no, I do test quite regularly, to be fair. But it's just there are times when I'll go 3 weeks without testing. And it's like,
yes, see, sometimes when you say things, I just think, I've seen your tank. There's no way you can get away with just ignoring it. like
sometimes I think I forget. And there was a time a few months ago when I can't remember what I said, but I remember saying something like that I haven't really tested for months or whatever. Or it was something like that. And I looked back at the spreadsheet because I was like, is that right? Is that really right? Do I not test that off? I was like, no, actually, I do test quite regularly. And it was I tested on average like once a week over the last 12 months, something like that.
Does your sheet go back then so you can see what your test results were 3 weeks ago?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, I literally just cross out, like, as in I just save mine on my phone and I just cross out the previous week and then put the new ones.
Right. So
occasionally I'll say I'll write next to them gone up 5 or down 5 or whatever compared to the previous one. So I've only really got 2 weeks of data, if you see what I mean. I don't keep it along.
Yeah. I start a new spreadsheet every year. So then I've got 12 months of data on each spreadsheet. Yeah. And I keep the old ones. I don't know if that's any use. It might be use if you were to look back. One of the things that people talk about is when your tank's looking its best, that's when you should do an ICP. Not when it's looking its worst, because then you can have a reference point and say, look, when my tank was at its best, these were the parameters.
True.
And that might be a good tie-in if you keep a record of the last 12 months. And obviously you and I take photos and videos all the time. You could look back and say, well, what was my tank like in June? Yeah, well, I do. What was my tank looking like in June or January? And then I can look at the results. I don't ever do that, but that would be a useful exercise, I think.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Hang on a second. Ryan Felt is asking, zero nitrate is not that big of a deal. Zero phosphate is bad. I disagree. Zero nitrate is that big of a deal. You should not have zero nitrate.
There you go.
But you should also not have zero phosphate. Because this came from John, who said, do you really need zero nitrate? Absolutely. Zero nitrate is bad. You do not want that. Mike Bailey says, has anyone tried the Reef Casa tanks from AAC yet? I think they're from Fragbox Corals.
They are. Yeah.
Interesting. We were having a quick chat about them before. I didn't realize they were over.
I haven't actually seen what the tanks look like. I've just heard about them.
I've looked them up online, and that's now the fact that they're in the UK makes more sense to me for reasons I will disclose another time.
Okay.
But anyway, so I think we could probably afford to move on to member and Facebook questions.
Sounds good.
The problem is because for a start, I was looking at stuff to talk about this week, and there wasn't anything that really inspired me. So it took me ages to put the link up for the live stream, and then I started to feel when I was like, oh, should I cancel it? So I only posted the member asking for member questions on this morning. What time? Like 11 hours ago.
You're slacking this week, basically.
I am. So apologies to the members. But there is one question, and this is from Rich's Reef, who says, I recently just placed a Nero 5 on the back wall of my tank, and I realized how annoying it is that the propeller is turquoise, lol. If it was black, it would blend into the back wall. Am I being too picky?
I have always thought this.
Have you really?
Yes. I've always gone, why have they made it that color?
I'm just going to go and have a look at mine. Hang on.
Yeah, I am. If it was black, it would be like a bit more subtle, and that's why it's exactly the same as people who have frag racks, which are like orange. You know, or they have that like orange like rim around them. They even make tanks now.
Oh, I hate those.
They make tanks with like an orange like seam, and you're just like,
the little pico. I as a general rule, I think you should do whatever you want, and you shouldn't try to please.
But you're wrong.
if I don't like it, doesn't matter. Do what you want, and you should always do what makes you happy. Yeah. But fluorescent stuff in reef tanks, like just like no.
That's exactly the same as that propeller. It's a good pump. Not sure why it's that blue color or turquoise or teal or whatever color you want to call it. Have you never noticed? You're now noticed all the time.
So Rich said, "Am I being too picky?" My instant reaction was yes, but that's because I never notice it. But then, to be fair, I just had a look at my water box. I have 4 Nero 5s on that tank.
Yeah,
only a 2-foot cube. But the 2 I've got what are they, 15-degree angles, 45-degree angles. I've got 2 that are on 3D printed angles that point them upwards, so I don't ever see them directly.
Okay.
So I don't notice, and they get covered in algae anyway. So I've never noticed that, but I kind of zone those things out. But it's interesting that you've thought that as well. And and now you mention it, why wouldn't they make them black? That is a bit weird.
Yeah,
I know that it's their branding and all that, but I don't want your branding in my tank.
But is it their branding? I don't. There's nothing else.
It's their colour. It's their brand colour, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's the logo colour, isn't it? Yeah, didn't really think about that. But
yeah, that's so you're not being picky then, and actually, YouTuber says not being picky, marketing before practicality from AI, it seems.
People that have those those fluorescent thing, anything that's fluorescent in their tanks, anything is for me is no different than a goldfish with a castle in a tank. I'm like, our tanks are like these things of natural beauty when they're done well. So why would
goldfish with a castle in a tank doesn't that makes sense to me, because that's what freshwater is. But salt water is, for me, it's different. And now I'm sounding snobby.
Even if I had goldfish, I wouldn't have a castle in there.
Fair enough. But just it's just I agree. I just the fluorescent stuff in the tank, and I've got a frag rack I bought because it was cheap, and it's got fluorescent in it. Yeah, it has, and I hate it.
The frag rack I had made the other day from Polyp Pros, they were like, "Oh, do you want to put fluorescence on it?" I'm like, "Hell no, just make it black."
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no. So they should. I don't know why they've done that with green. I'd never put turquoise. I hadn't noticed it, but apparently, Rich, you're not alone.
There you go.
So you're not being too picky. John wants orange impellers. No.
Oh God.
But yeah, what was I going to say? And Jay's Real Reef also says, why detract from the corals? The impeller should be black.
I feel like we just brushed over the fact that you said a castle is like, that's freshwater.
Freshwater, yeah, that's what freshwater. Like freshwater tanks. Yeah, but most people who have freshwater tanks they've got like some kind of shipwreck or something, and
do they?
Some kind of comedy bubbling thing.
Oh, I think when you're saying most people, I think that's a generalization. Actually,
no. I'm not in the hobby, to be fair.
Not high end.
No. Oh, no. 100%. No, there are some like Amano tanks with like proper aquascaping and stuff. Yeah, that's.
I don't see George Farmer putting a submarine in any of his tanks.
This is true. No, okay, fair enough. Yeah, okay. I see what you mean. I agree. But yeah, no. Okay, there you go. So you're not being picky. It's weird because, like, what's the Ecotech? They're MP40s.
Oh, black. And
they're
the same company owns both of them. So
I get it on like stuff on your skimmer, like Red Sea skimmers are red. Fine, no problem with that.
Yeah.
But their gyres aren't red.
No. Yeah, because you don't. Because you see those far. It's about it's things that are meant to be. I'm not sure if this is the correct word, but understated. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Like they're meant to be they're meant to be hidden in the background.
Yeah.
That's why our weir boxes are black and not bright orange.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Maybe they should be bright orange.
Yeah, or teal.
Like, yeah. But there you go. So, yeah, I think that's a fair shout. Actually, I'd never noticed it before. I'd noticed the color, but I never thought about it. But
you've upset Steve Webb.
You are so wrong. What am I wrong about? That is snobby. Planted aquascape tanks take a lot of. Yeah. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that freshwater tanks aren't awesome. Some of them are
what I heard was you said that all freshwater people are rubbish. Is what I heard you say.
The bit I was saying is snobby is that I thought was snobby is about reef tanks, and like reef tanks are better in inverted commas, because I generally think that there's like I think there's a place in freshwater for like shipwrecks, that sort of stuff, in freshwater tanks, but I don't think there is a place for fluorescent glass, for example, in a saltwater tank. I feel like gimmicky kind of suits freshwater, but maybe that's me being a reefing snob.
There was one thing which I saw which was similar to that, which could have gone into a tank, and this might have looked terrible. In fact, I now realize it probably would have looked terrible, and I'm not even sure it was real anymore. Actually, I've just decided, but that someone was selling like the brown beer bottles, like a brown bottle.
Yeah.
Not like a clear one. It was like a broken bottle, and it looked like it had come out of the ocean, and the rock had the reef had formed around it. It looked like it had been there a long time. It came in with a load of live rock, and it was just this brown bottle. Now I don't know if someone made that or if it was for sale. It was for sale for a lot of money. And I just thought that would be like, because it wasn't like properly broken. It had like a hole in it. You could put an eel in it, a small eel.
Yeah.
I thought when I saw that, I was like, yeah, that looks. But then I just realized something. That bottle wasn't covered in coralline algae. That was just a brown beer bottle that someone probably made some fake rock around it. Yeah. But I wouldn't do it now. But when I first started, I was like, that would look cool.
And then you became snobby like me.
Yes, yeah, true.
Fish Doc makes an excellent point. He says, okay, I generally agree, but I make an exception for holiday-themed hats for urchins.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing jollier than an urchin in a Santa hat.
No.
I love the you can get 3D printed top hats for urchins. I love that.
Yeah. It's literally just, I suppose it represents the ocean, a bit of plastic floating around. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, so that is the member questions done. Now we're going to move on to the Facebook page, and obviously I'm doing this by what Facebook tells me gets the most engagement. So hang on. First off, so fake fluorescent jellyfish are frowned upon. Then.
Oh, I think that was a jab at you.
Yeah, they look ridiculous.
So a real jellyfish are also ridiculous.
Correct. Anyway, so the most watched, the most, I don't know, the post that
viewed, shared.
Yeah, I can never. What's the term that Facebook uses? Reach. It talks about reach.
Yeah.
The post with the most reach from the last week on the Facebook group was a post from a page from prestigereef.co.uk, which is the UK's #1 coral selling website, and it was Mark Swan saying, "I'm thinking of getting one of these trackies. Which one should I go for?" And Ryan hilariously was like, "Get both, lol."
I laughed to myself when I wrote that.
And this was I like the one on the left more.
The one on the left is far more unusual than the one on the right. The one on the right, I've seen lots and lots like that. I haven't seen a lot of the one on the left.
One on the right looks a bit boring to me.
Oh, a bit boring for you? I've got some boring corals, have I?
Yeah.
You don't have any trackies, do you?
I've got one.
Oh, do you? Oh, yeah, you got one the other day, didn't you? I remember. Yeah, I do prefer the one on the left. It's definitely is a nicer one. And just so that we can update everyone, Mark has not bought either of them yet. So, Mark, you know.
And you did. I think you said you were going to give me one for free, right?
Oh, it's something like that. Yeah, I said you can. I said I've reserved one for you, and then you went, "Oh, I'll have it for free." I was like, "Oh, yep, YouTuber mentality, eh?"
Yeah. Legally binding contract. That is YouTuber mentality.
Yeah.
The second, this was funny. I thought this was funny. This is a meme.
I know. Oh God, yes.
So this is.
And I sent that to you.
Yeah.
I did.
I've seen this a lot like the last week.
I didn't know that.
For the podcast people, it's a couple lying in bed. The guy, they've got their backs to each other. The guy's got a furrowed brow and is looking concerned, like he's deep in thought. And the woman's got she's looking over her shoulder at him, looking pissed off with crossed arms. And she's thinking, he's probably thinking about other women. And the caption for him is, "I don't understand why my nitrates are so high." And that's the reality. I've always, whenever I've got a furrowed brow, like if I'm and Laura's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, just trying to work out how my clownfish died."
You've normally got a really big grin on your face when you're thinking about other women, isn't that? That's probably a better way of doing it.
Wow, you're just going to try to drop that in, are you?
I know. But when I saw that, I was like, "Yeah, I understand that," because I agree with you. There have been times where I'm thinking about my tanks more than anything else.
Exactly.
So it struck a chord with me.
Yeah. It's just it's funny. And then the other thing, the third thing from the Facebook page, third most reached item was someone found this. You know, you've got this weird thing about DI resin. You don't like touching.
Oh
it.
yes, yeah.
Someone's come up with a plan for you.
I saw that, but I didn't know how that worked.
I'll tell you. It's a website called Printed Reef, and I'm thinking of printing one of these myself.
Okay.
Rather than buying it.
Yeah.
But you've got a base, so it's just like there's a base that the DI resin chamber sits in. Okay, that holds it in place, and then you've got a funnel for the top, so it you don't risk beads going everywhere. Although I think that funnel's too small. And then you've got this sex toy looking thing.
I'd push it down.
It's like a plunger, exactly. So you push it down so it doesn't. So it's that's clever, isn't it?
That is actually
that's UK. I thought it was America. 26 quid, and I think 26 quid for all of that. I think that's quite good value, actually.
What I'm trying to work out what the top and like what the plastic bit is.
What do you mean?
So do you get that clear plastic bit as well, or do you?
No. So the clear plastic tube, that's your DI resin tube.
Yeah.
What you get is these 3 bits. So the bit on the right holds it in place. The top is a funnel, and then the sex toy is a ramming device, as it were.
Which is like most sex toys.
Anyway, we'll move on. But yeah, I think that was quite cool. That was quite cool. I've 3D printed my own funnel.
Yeah.
For them, but it needs to be bigger than that because they still get everywhere.
Yeah. See, I use a spoon. I literally use a spoon to put it in, and that's what's so annoying.
Yeah. And Triggerfish says they ripped that off from Fish of Hex. That's the trouble with 3D printing stuff is as soon as you've come up with an idea, someone else can make it.
Was that person? Did Fish of Hex?
Well, Fish of Hex might have got it from somewhere else.
Yeah, possibly. And the other thing is, did Fish of Hex want to sell it to other people? Because I don't know if he is or isn't.
I think he does one.
Oh, does he? Okay, fine.
Then but they might have had the same idea at the same time.
Yeah,
because there've been loads of times, countless times, where I've thought of an idea. Yeah. I'm like, this is wicked, and then you Google it, and someone else has
done it. Yeah, then you just use their idea because they've done it already for you.
Well, but then it's whose idea is it? It's like,
yeah.
So I could believe that was an independent idea, but at the same time with 3D printing stuff, that seems to be the way it goes. All right, and Mark Thor says looks more like a poking device. And YouTube says love it when equipment comes with special tools. We're going to move on from the smut. Because we now need to go to the Prestige Reef Fish of the Week.
Someone just said a plastic piping bag for DI resin. That is actually worth mentioning because that's actually not a bad idea. You know, like a cake piping bag. Yeah, fill it with DI resin and then just squeeze it in. I don't know if it'll work, but it's
DI resin isn't a liquid though, is it? Like that. I don't think that works. What's wrong with a funnel? Doesn't that do the same thing?
You could cut. I'm going to think about this.
Bad idea.
No, I actually think it might be a good idea. But as long as you've got a hole big enough, you can then like. I'll send you a picture when I've got DI resin all over the floor.
Yeah. Anyway, Prestige Reef Fish of the Week.
Oh, Fish of the Week. Oh yes. I'm like, back to me.
That's you, Ryan. Prestige Reef.
Right. As always, I like to try to think of something that people won't have seen before. I am definitely going to run out of ideas eventually, but I have picked an Ember Blenny for this week. This is such a cool looking fish, but I'm 99% sure it eats coral, and that's all it eats. Yeah, it's not like a normal Blenny. I think it only eats coral. And what I've noticed is these fish, which are other people don't know about, are usually ones that other people don't want as well, or they're really expensive. But I'm pretty sure they have a very, very low survival rate because they eat fish. I don't know what fish they eat coral, I think.
This particular website doesn't say, Aqua Nerd doesn't say anything about
they also come in a different color as well, where they're not as brightly red. But I think
that looked like a photo taken with a flash or something. That doesn't look 100% natural to me. But yeah. So Ember Blenny. What else can you tell us about him?
Not a lot. You don't see him very often. As I said, I'm just quickly googling because I'm sure they eat coral, but maybe I'm wrong. Because if I am wrong,
a comb tooth Blenny, and they tend to be. Although it's not the same, I was going to say, what's the bicolor Blenny?
It says reef safe, apparently. Why do I think they eat coral? Maybe I was thinking of something else.
Some Blennies do. Some of the comb tooth Blennies do. They're a risk anyway. Care level moderate, temperament peaceful, reef compatible. Yes.
So I wonder why they're not more popular then.
Maybe they're not. I've never seen one.
Maybe they're not that red.
Yeah. Well, this is the other live Aquaria photo, and that just looks a bit more boring.
But there's still, yeah, but look at like an algae blenny. Most blennies are actually not that exciting when you actually look at them, not compared to some other fish.
I got a Midas blenny in the cade. It's awesome. So I was about to say I've never seen an ember blenny, but I might have done. I just haven't noticed it.
Yeah. They're not, Midas blennies are a bit different to all the other blennies, though, aren't they?
They're very sociable. They're out
and about. They don't have that cone tooth. In
No.
fact, actually, there's a few different types of blennies, aren't there? Because you get like the vampire ones as well, which also look different.
Yeah, like the bright yellow ones.
Unfortunately, I can't tell you an awful lot. I just thought I actually saw one the other day, and I was like, "Oh, that's gonna be the fish of the week," because I know what that is, and that's unusual.
That's cool. Yeah, happy days.
And are we moving on to the coral of the week?
Why not?
I'm gonna.
You told me what this was.
Yeah, I think I did. Yeah, because it's a Trachyphyllia, I believe it's pronounced.
But you know what? For years, literally the first, I don't know, 3 or 4 years in the hobby, I thought it was Trachyphyllia.
Yeah, me too. But then you realised it was the second A.
Yeah, well, no, I realised because I went to TMC, the Europe's biggest importer.
Yeah.
And they were talking about, and they kept saying it was like chief executive. He kept talking about Trachyphyllia, and I was like,
"Did you correct him?"
No, I didn't. But I was thinking, it's Trachyphyllia, you dickhead. And I googled it because I was like, surely he can't be wrong, and he was right.
Yeah.
But yeah, Trachyphyllia.
Yes.
Which is these bad boys. Elegance corals. Cats.
It's just a coincidence that the coral of the week was the coral that you were going to buy this week or considered buying this week.
The thing, one of the reasons I didn't buy it was because I want a pink tipped cat.
Okay.
I think they look a bit cooler, and this wasn't pink tipped.
But
you actually get a reasonable variety. Most Trachyphyllias look fairly similar.
Yeah.
But you do get a little bit of variety in terms of the color of the wavy bits.
You can get some. Most of them are like green-ish.
Yeah. This is like this photo here hang on. It looks like a big Duncan basically. That is what I think. That is like a typical Trachyphyllia to me.
You can frag them as well. Like literally, they come in fragged from like
you cut through the flesh.
Yeah, I don't do it, but trust me, I think they just take a big machete. And they just they cut them into sections.
I've never had a cat before. Yeah. Trachyphyllia. I've got a cat. But when they shrivel up, like if you take them out of water, when they shrivel up, do they like completely disappear? Is it like a torch or is it like a gunny? What do they look like?
If I'm on it, I don't know if they completely disappear. They sort of shrivel, like a Trachyphyllia doesn't completely disappear, does it? It sort of like shrivels up into itself.
So it's like that.
It's similar to that. It'll mostly go in, but even with torches, they don't go in completely. You can usually see like just a little tuft sticking out the top. But yeah, they have multiple mouths on them. It's funny because sometimes the mouths will fight each other. So really? if they catch something, you can get two mouths that are both trying to eat the same thing.
Like a Siamese twin. So if it's got a couple of mouths, I guess that's why you can frag it. Because
so if to frag them, basically they need to be closed up as much as possible. Right. And then I think they do it with a machete.
Literal machete.
Yeah, I think they do. It's like places like Indonesia, they're not out there with the swords. They're like there with a machete cutting things up.
Yeah.
And it's and then they let them heal. That happens quite often as well with wall hammers. You often see wall hammers coming in the hobby. Yeah, if you look at, in fact, when I say often, I mean almost every wall hammer that comes in. If you look at it, it's got one. It'll usually have one healed normal side and then one flat side which is healed, but it's got much smaller polyps on it. So they cut them, leave them in the ocean or leave them in their tanks for a period of time, and then ship them out once they've healed. And I think they do that with cats as well.
Yeah, okay, I don't like that. Because wall hammers are more likely to die anyway than the.
I think that's probably why they have such a negative. Like people look at wall hammers, they go, "Oh, wall hammer. That's like I won't buy a wall hammer because if it dies, then I'll lose all of it." But they're happy to buy a single head of something else. Which, if it dies, you'll lose all of it, and usually they're the same price.
Yeah, that's very true. But at least a branching one has got the potential to develop into something with built-in.
I have fragged wall hammers before, where a section of it was dying, and I thought, well, I'm just going to cut a big chunk off, so it's like the healthy section, and it did survive. How long it survived for, I don't know, because eventually someone else took it. But generally, wolves don't have a huge survival rate when they come in, probably for that reason.
Yeah, but Cataphilia. So I've actually never had a cat, but I want one. It's just that what puts me off is that they get big.
I've got 2 massive ones. They're like this.
Yeah, that's the
they've been here for ages because people don't want these absolutely massive ones.
You want the small one, but then actually, I think was it Jamie Craggs who was breeding them?
Yeah,
and he was breeding. He'd made like 50p coin size Cataphilias. Yeah. I'd buy one of them in a heartbeat.
I don't know why.
Well, because it's future Alex's problem when it gets too big.
Yeah. Some of them are. You can get some really, really bright lime green ones as well. They're usually a bit more expensive.
So
but they're quite nice.
Photo from white corals.
Yeah,
this one.
Well, I wonder what that red one is.
Reef Builders.
There's like one really
like a cat.
It's like red and blue.
Yeah. Oh wow, red and yellow as well.
I've
only ever seen various shades of green, basically.
Yeah.
So interesting.
I got 2 ugly brown ones as well. I've got 2 small ones, like the ones you like the size you want, but they're like brown. So they'll go out. Someone will come into the coral farm. And I go, look, do you want that for like 20 quid? Just like get rid of it. And they're like, yeah, I'll take it.
Okay. There you go. Oh, actually, this is a better photo because it's a top-down photo of Cataphilia.
They are Elegance corals. So has O2 YouTube? Oh no. Okay, I'm not going to try and put.
Anyway.
No. Yes. Anyway,
Elegance corals.
Yes. So they are Elegance corals, although for some reason they're one of those corals where the scientific name is used more often than the common name. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe the common name came later.
Yeah, that's funny actually, isn't it? Because no one says Euphilia instead of torches, or hang on, which ones is that you? What's there's torches and hammers got split into
Fimbriophilia and
Fimbriophilia, which is which? Is that a torch? I can't remember.
I don't want to look stupid. I think that Euphilia as the torch. No, I'm not.
You're not committing.
I'm not committing to either of them because
frog spawns, hammers, and octo spawns and all that. They're one group.
Yes. That's why they can't touch each other, because if they touch each other, they'll sting each other and kill each other. Well, usually,
which is funny because whenever you look up, like back in the day when I used to look up, can I keep a torch garden? It would, or a Euphilia garden. It'd be like, you can keep all Euphilias together, but you can't keep torches next to them.
There's some.
Now it's like, well, it's 'cause it's not
I was thinking this as well. There's some gonnies which definitely kill each other, 100%.
Yeah.
So
there's some chalices that kill each other.
So chalices are widely accepted to be like there's a whole different sort of like.
We call them chalices, but they're not.
Yes. Whereas I think that the gonnies, I think there's something with them where there's 2 separate sections. There's 2 different types, because as I said, some of them will literally kill the others like aggressively, and usually that means they're like there's different on a species level or something.
Well, that the pink gunny I brought down to you that you chopped the base off for me.
Oh yeah.
A third of that got killed, got attacked and killed by its neighbor. That was a blue gunny, and the blue gunny looks like a typical gunny. This one is still a gunny, but it's got much shorter tentacles. It's not like Bernard short tentacles. But just it's kind of like halfway between. So maybe it's something different.
Some of them have like round tips as well on the tentacles, and some of them have like pointy ones.
Yeah, okay.
I've noticed, and I'm pretty sure it's the pointy ones that kill the round tip ones.
You're right. Okay.
It's not very good. It's not a very good explanation.
It's not quite like having Jamie Craggs on the show.
I need to actually show you a picture of the ones I mean, but so it's just a warning out there. So just if you're gonna have a gonny garden, just remember some of them will kill other ones.
Yeah.
So err on the side of caution.
But yeah, and I do wonder then maybe if gunnies aren't all gunnies.
That's literally what I was just saying. I think I wonder if there's like if we're calling them gonnies, just like we call Euphilia, but they're actually not.
And we call chalice.
Yeah.
But yeah. And Sun says I've only ever heard called them Elegance in the States. I've heard them called Elegance loads in the UK, but most people call them cat. Anyway,
quick. There you go. I've done my bit now. I can relax.
You can go away now. With this now, so it is now 1 hour 24. I'm just going to make a note of that. 1:24.
Do you ever look at the analytics to see who skips, see if people do skip forward to that section?
No, but I do. I do often get people clicking on, replying to the, because I put a pinned comment with the time when I'm going to start talking about what people want to hear, and I get like 2 or 3 replies. Oh, thanks. Oh, cheers. Nice one. So
that tells you 3 people appreciate your effort.
Yeah, and if 3 people are commenting, there's probably 100 people who can't be asked to comment, and they're just like, "Yep, done." But anyway, that means that we're now going to move on to the main thing we're talking about today, which today is the news. So this is reefing news of the week, right? So there's lots of news here. Part of it is Aqua Illumination stuff. Let's talk about the Aqua Illumination stuff straight away, to be fair, because that is probably the biggest piece of news. So, and what I've just realised is that I didn't. I've got photos of the things I wanted to talk about, and oh no, I've deleted them. You moron, Alex. All right, well, that you can see them from the thumbnail, but they were the AI Axis return pump.
Not doing well tonight, are you?
The AI Orbit. Is that what they were called?
No idea. This is equipment I zoned out. That's actually why that's literally, as soon as I realized we were talking about equipment, I was like, yep, I'm gonna have a drink tonight.
All right. Yeah. So yeah, we've got the return pump is like that. That's called the AI Axis 20.
Very exciting.
And then the powerheads are Gyres, and they are called AI Orbit 2 and 4. I don't have many details on this. There is a patent or website page that you can go and look at, but it doesn't tell you everything. And I don't think this has been announced. I couldn't find it anywhere. So I just saw this on Instagram from Telegram. So I don't know where this has all come from, but it is a legitimate thing, and they are coming. But so there are 2 products then from AI. One of them is a return pump, and that return pump is, a couple of people said, "Oh, that looks a little bit like my TMC pump."
I was saying it looks like the TMC ones,
and there's a reason for that.
It's because it is the TMC one.
Yeah, basically. I'm going to risk getting water all over me to show you this, but there we go. So this is my TMC return pump.
Yeah,
and that is the exact same return pump as the new AI one, with a different color, of course. Now this
you're going to get sued. They're like, no, we changed something slightly.
Oh well, that's an interesting point. So it's a company. They're made by a Chinese company called ZKSJ, which is, catchy name for an aquarium pump company.
Yeah.
And if you Google ZKSJ aquarium Wavemaker, it comes up with all sorts of pumps that you're like, oh, I recognize them. So these little ones here. Oh, in fact, that's hilarious. TMC Reflow Nano, and then next to that, TMC Wavemaker ZKSJ. So it's the exact same pump as far as I can see. And these look like. Also, there's a brand called Hugger, Hygger, something like that, Hyygger. They look very similar to them as well. But there are loads of pumps that this ZKSJ company make, and they are very similar. So people said they look like the TMC pump. They do, because they're basically the same pump.
If we get a Prestige Reef pump, I'll contact them.
I know.
Can you put my logo on it?
This general process is called white labeling, when a company with no reputation will license its product to a company that does have a reputation. They put their name to it and say, oh, this is AI, it's not ZKSJ. And then suddenly they can sell it and it's worth more because there's backing to it. This isn't quite white labeling, because they're doing something to enhance the product. So they're not just taking their pump and selling it for a markup. They'll be including it as part of their Mobius app and the AI app. So you're getting an advancement. And it looks nicer. The colors look better. I mean, it's a return pump, so
we already discussed how unimportant colors are in the under the cabinet.
I'm not sure how much value there is in that, but you know what? If some people like to have, I like to have if all my equipment is the same color in the sump, That does give me give me some satisfaction, but it's like the least important thing in the world. So I haven't got details of this, but they will make some changes to it. But as far as I can see, they'll just be adding it to the app. It doesn't look. I had a look at the picture. It looks exactly the same as the pump I have. So they've not changed any of the brackets or of the fixings or anything like that. The good things about this are, one, it's very quiet, very, very quiet. Mine is pretty much silent. It draws from the bottom, so it can sit in a very shallow pool of water. So if you're like you had your return pump run dry, it would have taken longer to get there.
Well, I don't want one of those.
Actually, it's a bad thing for you. But it makes it very good. I use it as my saltwater mixing thing, and it's very good for that because it goes right to the bottom. It's got little rubber feet, so it like dampens the noise and all that. What else is good about it? That's about it. It's quiet and it draws from the bottom. The downside is, for me, I was running it as my return pump on my Fluval, and then it just, within 6 months, it broke basically. So when I pressed the feed button, it would go into feed mode, and then when you take it out of feed mode, it would just bring up an error code.
Okay.
And it kept doing that every single time. And it got to the point where I couldn't live with it anymore, and so I now no longer use it in my my main tank because it was untenable. You couldn't use it, and now I use it as a saltwater mixing pump, because if it won't come back on from feed mode and I have to unplug it and plug it back in, I don't really care. But that's one. So who knows? The only thing with this is, so Reef Factory did this recently as well with their return pump. They did it's called the Reef Factory base pump, and it's based on the Jecod pump. The difference with that is Jecod have had a reputation for years, and people in the hobby have been buying their equipment for a long time. Whereas ZKSJ, I've never heard of them, and they haven't built up the same reputation. So but
would AI pick a company that didn't have faith in? Because AI are known for being they're a good company. They do the lights are good, so they're sort of like a slightly cheaper version of the Ecotech stuff. Like they're still a higher level.
They're premium brand, but they're like a junior to Ecotech. Yeah.
So would they pick someone that wasn't like that could damage their reputation? I don't know.
Well, we'll find out. But the difference is, if it's someone like Jecod, they're solid. If it's someone like ZKSJ, they might be solid. Who knows? But they might also be crap. So I just like the fact that Jecod has a reputation. Yeah. But then there are two ways of looking at it with the fact that they're just rebranding it effectively. You can either say, well, look, I'm just paying an extra 30 quid. I'm paying double the money, and all I get is the app. Well, and a nicer color pump. That's crap. They're ripping me off. Or you can look at it and say, well, actually, if they were to develop their own pump and build it from the ground up, which I think
it'd be a lot more expensive.
Exactly. I think like the Ecotech Vectra, I think that's what they did. I assume maybe they didn't. I don't know. But if they were to develop their own pump from the ground up, it would be a lot more expensive. Yeah. So you're getting a pump that has AI backing. And to your point, you're getting a pump that AI have done their due diligence on, and they've decided it's all good, and they're prepared to put a warranty and all that sort of stuff, and you get it built into the app. So those are kind of the pros and cons. I have no skin in the game. I don't really care if you buy it or not. I don't buy it. I'm just talking about the pros and cons. But
do you think a return pump needs an app?
No, we talked about this the other week, didn't we? No, I was going to say, I was about to say, I like having an app for a return pump, but I don't.
I don't put it on feed mode. I think feed mode, like some people use it for some reason. I think you use it for photography and stuff like that sometimes. Yeah, I have never ever used feed mode, not once ever.
I use it all the time. Sometimes for taking top-down photos and videos. If I ever want to see in the tank top-down, I put it on feed mode. Yeah. If I want to feed Reef Energy, which I don't do very often, but I do from time to time, I turn the return pump off, so it goes to the coral before it goes into the skimmer.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And all those, I find it really useful, but I never go into the app. I have a Wi-Fi and app-controlled return pump, but I like the box. There's a button on the box. You press it, and it goes into feed mode.
See, I literally can't use feed mode on the coral farm because the pipe work is so big on the coral farm that if if even one pump fails, it's not enough to keep the tank going without. So if I put it on feed mode, it then won't turn back on.
Yeah, okay.
Because it needs to have that. It needs to have enough power. What I like, I obviously went with the 3. Well, I actually have 5 Vectra L1s, but I think if I did it again, I'd probably have one massive one. When I sorry, 2 can keep it going, but not at full capacity, which was why I did it actually. But if I put it in feed mode where all 3 of them turned off for a period of time, when I tried to turn them back on, it wouldn't have enough to push it, that initial push to get it going. So that's why I don't. And then with regards to the other tanks I've had, the fish eat the food too quick. So
I don't ever use it for feeding fish. I like that. I did start doing it on one of my tanks when the food kept going down the weir box, and no matter where I put it in, it kept going down the bloody weir box. It was doing my head in. So I used that, but I've changed the power heads now, and I don't need to do that anymore. But I don't use it as feed mode to feed fish.
Yeah.
But I do find it really useful.
Camera mode.
Yeah, exactly. Really. And looking down, like if I'm putting a new coral in place, I don't want the flow on and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So I find it really useful for that. But even then, I don't use the app. So for a return pump, you really don't need an app, actually, you know.
There you go. There's a long-winded answer.
Yeah, exactly. And the in terms of the control box as well, I'm hoping this is one thing. So the TMC one has a little TMC label on the physical controller, and this physical controller is really good because it's got on/off, fine, intensity and feed. So you can press the feed button on there, physical button, and you can adjust the intensity on there, which is all you ever need. So having a physical button for that is really useful. So I'm guessing AI might change that box, so it might look different, but it might be the same because they'll need to put their chip in to access the app. So maybe it'll need to be bigger. I don't know. Maybe they'll want it to look different. But I would like if they did away with that completely and didn't have any physical buttons. That'd be a bad thing because you would have to use the app. But I just want a physical button for intensity and feed mode, like Jekyll pumps. They're really good.
It's generally quicker than opening an app.
Yeah, okay, exactly. Yeah. Just a button is like bosh. Yes, thanks.
Yeah.
And the other thing was the Orbit gyres. Now there are a couple of things that people talked about in the comments. I jumped on earlier, and there are a few people who were commenting in the comments. YouTube deletes comments if you comment like a few hours before a live stream. They just disappear anyway. But there are a couple of people saying about these. So for a start, there were 2 gyres. There's a small one and a large one. Basically, they are $280 and $320. And some people said. A lot of people said, "Hey, aren't they max spec gyres?" And yes, they are, because max spec have I don't know if they invented gyres for aquariums, but they have the rights to them, so they license out everybody else. So if say Red Sea gyres are made by max spec,
they must be making loads of money. Max spec.
Exactly, it's great. It's like Philips have the same thing with LEDs. So Radion have to buy Philips LEDs and these sorts of things. Anyway,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. But what was I going to say? So with that, then, that one comment though that is so lots of people know that, but what someone made a comment, oh look, it's just you're just buying the exact same thing with a different color on it, and therefore there's no difference. That's not true. That's not the case. So with the Red Sea one, for example, I don't know about the forthcoming AI one because there aren't many details, but with the Red Sea one, it has different. I talked to the designer of the Red Sea one.
Yeah,
it is the max spec gyre underneath, but they made all sorts of subtle, clever little changes.
Yeah,
like they changed the rubber mountings so it doesn't vibrate as much. They changed. I think there are a couple. I can't remember what all the things were, but I think they color coded the left and right blades. So you can.
I had that same conversation, I think, but it was like 6 years ago. I reckon I had that conversation.
Yeah. But they do all these little things because they take it and they try to improve it. So actually, with I on the return pump for AI, I couldn't see any differences, but there will likely be some subtle differences on the gyres, I suspect. Red Sea do that anyway, but it might be. Who knows? They might just be like, you know what, we're just gonna have the same ones. The only exception to this licensing thing is Jecod. I've seen Jecod gyres. Now, for all I know, they might be following the license, but Jecod from the outside do seem to be a company that doesn't care about
Yes, about copying other people's stuff.
Exactly. But I might be besmirching their good name, but I might not be. But there you go. So those were the two. And actually, do you know what? It's not just that way round. Like we talked about white labeling. It's not just that way around. It's not just companies like AI that take a product from another company and rebrand it. It happens the exact opposite way around. For example, Jecod SLW series of pumps. I have 2 of them on this tank. They are rip-offs of the AI Nero.
Yeah.
The only difference is that wasn't their idea. So that's worse to do it that way around than, I mean, if you're taking a company's product and rebranding it, there is like an element of deceit there, because you're not saying, you're not selling it saying, hey, this is an AI pump, but by the way, it's actually rebranded. So there is actually a small element of deceit there.
With Red Sea, really. They actually, when I spoke to them, they actually wanted people to know that it was basically a max spec pump.
Really? Yeah.
They actually specifically asked me to mention that it was a max spec pump. It even says it on their box, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know if that was part of the deal, but I'm 99% sure that it was definitely asked of me, but I'm pretty sure it's on the box as well.
But so generally companies don't do that. Generally they keep it quiet. Like the Neptune Refugium light, Neptune Grow, I think it's called. That's based on, I can't remember the name of it's based on a Chinese light. And there are loads of them. They'll make that and they'll be like, just pretend it's ours.
There was almost a Prestige Reef fish food.
Really?
I've never told you this. Oh. There is a company that does do white labeling for fish food. They're a well-known brand of fish food, but they'll also make fish food for other companies as well if you want them. But I think the problem was, if you wanted it done, you had to. It was like quite a significant number. Like you'd have to order like 2,000 of them or something. And could I sell 2,000 pots of fish food? I don't know. Especially if it's the same fish food, but with just my logo on it than another one. I can't even remember which brand it is. I know the name of the actual the company that makes it, but I can't remember what other brands they do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I properly looked into that. I've actually looked into it quite a few times of doing a brand of fish food. But
because I've never been approached with that, but I've thought about whether or not I would do it. Yeah. And my only real issue with it, I don't have a problem with it. I think ethically I'm okay with it, like this AI thing.
Oh yeah, I don't mind it.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
But the only thing I'd have a problem with is if it was something I knew, like if it was the mices I've been using for 10 years or 8 years.
Yeah.
Fine. If it was something I'd never used before,
yeah,
I don't think I'd want to do it.
Then depends how many people buy it. Because if I told you were going to sell out 2,000 in a week, you'd do it.
Not if it was going to ruin 2,000 people's tanks.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, if it's just another brand of fish food.
Yeah, if I had a reputation, I think I'd be interested, but otherwise not. But in terms of this happening the other way around, I looked up because I remember there was Red Sea lights got ripped off, and I couldn't remember who it was, and I looked them up. It was a company called Pop Bloom.
I've never seen those before.
They are near identical to
they're white.
To the Red Sea lights. well, I think you can get these in black as well, but that's just and there was I did a live stream ages ago. I think it was before you, and it was a company who'd ripped off the Radions, complete rip off. I can't remember what they were called now, but it's so for me, what AI have done with this pump, I think that's okay. What Pop Bloom have done with Red Sea lights, that is not okay.
Yeah.
And those two are totally different. But
yeah.
But there you go. So that is that stuff, the AI stuff. There is more. The good news is, Ryan, there's lots of stuff on fish and corals to come. The bad news is
finally we're getting off equipment.
The bad news is there's one more light.
I was dying. It was one more.
But this is Reef Breeders, which in the UK is Evergrow, and they brought out a new light called a new photon LED called the Meridian, and this looks like it's basically the same as their lights before. They were long strips. These look like they've got different lenses. They look like basically it looks like a Radion. So they've done the same thing. These will probably be very good, I would guess. If it's better than the Evergrows or whatever they're called, the Reef Breeder Photon V2, I think it was. If it's better than them, which it probably is, they'll be really good. But Reef Breeder is the American company, and they actually, I think they import them, and I think they tweak some of the spectrum, so that it's not just copying it, is what I understand. They do change it, but Reef Breeders are quite expensive. In the UK, Evergrow are relatively cheap, although since they got more popular, shops started putting the price up, even though it's the same thing, and they're not that cheap anymore. But that looks good. The Reef Breeder one looks good, and the price actually wasn't that bad. 400 quid for the 11-inch model, $400 for the 11-inch model. So it's kind of Radeon XR30 Lite for Radeon XR15 price.
I realized if I just don't say very much, we can then move on to the other stuff.
I keep talking in that case.
If I ask questions or anything, it keeps us on the equipment.
Oh, you're such a Philistine.
I just don't know what it is. I'm not looking for a new light, so
no, why not? It's been like 6 months.
yeah, true. Time. I've had mine probably 4 years now, or at least 3.5 years.
Weird.
I'm still going just as good as they bought them.
All right. Well, the good news is then, Ryan.
Yes.
That the rest of the news, and there's loads of news this week. The rest of the news is all about fishing corals.
Good.
Starting with, we talked about Dendronepthia a couple of weeks ago. Do you remember?
Yes.
Turns out, and I think that's right. Turns out that's a species in endangerment.
Okay.
AKA an endangered species. And scientists in Australia, they're based in the southeast coast of Australia. They've suffered a lot from various global warming issues and all this sort of stuff. But scientists have worked out how to breed them basically for the first time. So they've bred them and they've planted them back in the I don't think it's Great Barrier Reef, but back in the reefs.
Okay.
And there's an article on Ultramarine about it. There's an article on Reef Builders about it as well. But basically it's saying the same thing. But it was really interesting. So that this was Jamie Craggs-esque. It wasn't actually Jamie Craggs. It was PhD candidate Meryl Larkin. So props to Meryl. But she's figured it out. So cool.
Way more exciting.
But you've not got anything to say. Ryan, talk to me.
I'm wondering if you saw that there was a new fish discovered.
Oh, you want new fish, do you? Right. Okay.
Yeah. So, is that the one?
I got several new fish for you.
See, well, this is what's interesting, because when I see a title that says "new fish discovered," I'm like, oh, yes, but it's often a shit fish.
So that's the thing. Whenever I see new fish discovered, half the time I don't talk about it, and you're like, "Oh, did you see the bit about the new fish?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "I did, but it's crap. It's brown."
Yes. And I wondered if
Exhibit A.
But it's a new fish. That gives me hope. It gives me hope that they're going to find other cooler new fish.
Yeah. Well, this was there was Great Barrier Reef Project reveals new shrimp goby species.
Yeah, I saw that one.
And it was they've called it the Lady Elliot shrimp goby because it's found on the Lady Elliot Islands. Lady Elliot Island. And so it's a shrimp goby at the end of the day. So, that's kind of cool. But it's probably going to be safe largely from the hobby because it's brown and cream.
And again, because if they've only just discovered it, the chances are they don't see them that often.
This is very true. But I did see a shrimp goby in a shop today that was similar. It wasn't quite as boring.
Probably the same one. They just didn't realize.
It was different. It was similarly boring. But basically, because that's cool that they've discovered one. But I do hope that this doesn't come into the hobby. Because if they just found him and then they found like 10,000 of them, temptation would be to catch a few of them. I hope that doesn't happen actually. Although I do like his little yellow bits on his fins.
What about if it was like this most vibrant red and yellow metallic color? Would you Would you then be like, oh yeah, okay, I want that in the hobby?
Yeah, sign me right up.
Have they only just found it, or they've only just named it? Because quite often with fish,
what's it called?
They know about them already, but they think there's something that they're very similar to something else, so they just have grouped the two together. There's an angelfish which is like that, where like it's a dwarf angel which is black, like jet black, and one of them is like the darkest navy blue. So for the longest time, they were just described as the same fish. And then one day someone went, actually, we're gonna call them two different ones.
Yeah, they say
and
described.
I wonder if that's what this is.
So I think that is what this is. They say the Lady Elliot shrimp goby is described in a paper released today. So that probably means it's been a while since never recorded. Oh, actually, hang on a second. It's been a while since a never recorded anywhere before fish has been described from the Great Barrier Reef.
There you go.
And the good news is the researchers say the discovery generates more questions and speculation, including how many more new species are waiting to be uncovered.
Yeah.
So this nice new, bright red and pink one. Yeah, sign me up. Red and pink could be a weird option. Choice. Color. But that wasn't the only fish. There was another one. And this is even worse.
The Ocean Project's trying to... What is this? Who thinks I should do a live with Alex again? He's trying to get an invite.
Tough luck. I've already got a guest. Thank you very much. Yeah, I got Ryan on.
Trying to muscle your way in literally while I'm on the screen. Do that in your own time.
I did actually think the other day, we don't ever have guests on, and like every now and then we joke
because we don't like other people.
Every now and then we joke about, oh yeah, we didn't get invited to this. It's like we don't ever invite guests on, so
that's
maybe we
true.
should. But anyway, the other new fish is Eviota atoroensis.
I haven't seen this one.
Which is a new species of dwarf goby from Timor-Leste.
Okay.
And it's rubbish.
That looks cooler than the other one.
Well, I mean, that's like saying,
Do you know what that reminds me of? For some reason, that reminds you of the sand that you get in like goldfish tanks.
Yeah.
It's all different colors.
Yeah, exactly. So it was, where is Timor-Leste, by the way? Let me have a look. I don't actually know.
No, but it looks shocked that someone's taking a picture of it.
Timor-Leste, Philippines. Is that Philippines? Country in Asia. Oh, it's a country. So it's off. Oh, it's okay. So it's near Indonesia, perhaps unsurprisingly. There's a Timor and a Timor-Leste. I did not know that. Anyway, geography lessons with Reef Dork. It's a new shrimp goby. It's an inch long.
That's not. Is that a shrimp? No, so not.
Sorry,
that's
not shrimp goby. Yeah. No. It's a new dwarf goby. It's an inch long.
It'd be interesting to see what it looks like in
It looks like a neon tetra.
Yeah, it's not super brightly coloured. It'd just be interesting to see what it looks like under reef lighting.
No, it is not.
No, not for you.
It's just. And this is the thing. So when you like on Reef Builders in particular, they find these stories fairly often. There's a few a year where a new fish has been described, and it's always cool to learn about a new fish. But 90% of them are like, not interested.
There was one really rare like dartfish, which was interesting. I'm quickly googling it to see if I can find it. Which was discovered relatively recent. I'm not gonna be able to do it while we're here. And that when I saw that, I was like, okay, that is a cool fish. But I've never seen one in the hobby.
Well, there was there's one more fish.
Okay.
Pleased to hear.
Is this also brown?
No, it's not brown.
Is this the hybrid one?
It is.
Is it the one where I? Okay.
What did you say?
Where I said that. No. Let's see what fish is. Come on, then, let's bring it up.
Okay, so this is the. Do you know what? The one thing I hate, right?
Yeah.
And I've used this myself before, but the letter X to mean cross. So like people will say yellow X purple tang.
Okay. So you're fine with those, turquoise fan blades, but people use the letter X. You're like,
it's like trendy. It's like just grammar shouldn't be trendy. Anyway, I'm sounding like a right dickhead now. It is mustard X convict tang, so a mustard tang crossed with a convict tang, and the headline on Reef Builders is that this is a one of a kind hybrid. And that's what it looks like. That is one of a kind. That is.
It is definitely one of a kind.
It is one of a kind.
The thing that's quite interesting about it is the dots on it. If you look at the dots of a jewel tang, which if you scroll down, you'll see a jewel tang because there's one in this. Yeah, they're not at the front of the head. So where have those dots come from?
Yeah,
because neither of them have dots on the head.
Is it these two? Sorry, those
Yeah.
two.
It's a hybrid of those two. Personally, I actually prefer the originals, which I feel that way about a lot of hybrids actually.
Yeah,
even like
I like
the
some
Achilles,
hybrids.
even the Achilles tang hybrids, I prefer a normal Achilles to an Achilles crossed with a gold rim.
I don't think I've ever seen an Achilles tang hybrid.
Yeah, you get Achilles hybrid. I think they might hybridize with a couple of different.
The ones I like, or the one that stands out for me, is the Tiger Party G, because that's like an uber bright version. But that doesn't look.
Every one of those is completely different. If you Google that now, and I bet you don't get a uniform where all the fish look the same. You'll get some that look really bright, and some of them look like but they all cost the same amount.
Yeah, expensive. I've seen a couple, and they looked very, very nice. But yeah, I mean, it is a one of a kind fish, but it's not very pretty, is it?
Yeah, well, it looks like there's more fish that where like food fish are normally silver, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah. But TMC say it's the first one they've had in 50 years, which is cool.
Chris has just said that Kraken got one of those Yerpal tangs in.
Oh, really?
Only
6K.
People are still holding out for them to turn into like a beautiful fish, rather than like a brown fish.
Well, there was the there's an Instagram page that's Yerpal_22 or something like that, and it looks all right in that. Better than like a brownie type one, but it still doesn't look like.
It doesn't look like what people want it to look like.
No,
where it's like purple with yellow fins.
Yeah, exactly. But purple tang's got a yellow tail anyway. Has it got a yellow?
Purple tangs have a yellow tail. Wait. Purple tangs have yellow fins and a yellow tail.
Yeah, I was just
so
purple tang.
So what are people hoping that Yerpal to turn into?
Exactly the same. The other way around, maybe. So I don't know. Yeah, that's a very good point. Anyway.
Yeah, well, I've only just realised that.
I will not be going to Kraken with £6,000.
No,
partly because I don't have £6,000, but mainly because I don't want a Yerpal tang.
It's the top fins. I've just looked at that Yerpal.
Oh, they're like it's like a blonde Meso tank.
Yes.
Oh, that would be cool. To be fair, all right, yeah.
I'm sorry, it still just looks brown.
Yeah, it's getting there, but
yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
You'd 10 grand for that.
Yeah.
Might be disappointed. All right, two more things. One is let me get the screen back up again. China suspected of mass illegal coral harvest in West Philippine Sea. And this was the armed forces of Philippines discovered extensive damage on the Rosal Reef in West Philippine Sea. So they went and found a load of Chinese. They described them as Chinese maritime militia. There were a load of boats there, and after they'd gone, basically all of the corals in this area had disappeared.
It's the hobby is massive in China.
Yeah, it's weird that because you never hear anything about it. But
that's true, you don't.
But then I don't ever hear anything about anything in China because the culture is just so, and the language is so different. I don't really know why actually, but
yeah, I know that. I just remember seeing there's like the videos of the crazy expensive stuff often ends up there because there's someone crazy enough to buy it.
Yeah. But it's a shame because if it's so popular over there, you would think that they do it responsibly. But
animals don't have the same level of trying to put this carefully.
Yeah,
they don't have
I don't care about animals basically.
They don't have the same level of animal rights over there. Let's put it that way.
No.
So if they don't feel that way about a dog or a monkey, they definitely don't feel that way about coral.
No, indeed. And ultimately, if they could go in there, dredge up a load of coral and make 100 grand out of it, sod it, they'll do it. But all right, well, anyway. I don't
know. I don't want to comment on that. I just know
it's all alleged, but
yeah.
But yeah, it's just sad, isn't it, when when anybody does that to a reef? But
yeah, and there will be other people that wouldn't be doing it sustainably as well. Like the people using dynamite. I'm sure people still do this, or cyanide. They're not allowed to. It's illegal, but I bet there's people that still do it. Imagine trying to if you look at some of these places, how are the police going to govern like hundreds of little islands?
Well, if you're at sea, it's like a lawless land because there's no one around.
Yeah.
So you can do whatever you want, basically, which is all sorts of oil tankers dump all their bilge. They're supposed to retain all the bilge waste, which is all oil and all sort of stuff, and they just dump it because it's cheaper, and they're not going to get caught. Anyway, the last piece of news is there's a new book, Ryan.
I've just Googled how many islands there are in Indonesia. Apparently, there's 6,000 of them. Wow, so imagine trying to police that.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't.
Yeah. Sorry, back to
last piece of news. It's about a new book. There's a new book, and it is the Brazilian Reef Fishes book, which is the most comprehensive reference book to date. And it's just basically got 400 loads of fish, basically 875 photographs with common and scientific names. Basically, if you want to know about Brazilian reef fishes, this is your book. Peces recifais brasileiros.
I wonder what that angelfish is. It's like a blue angelfish there with a white tail.
Yeah, quite cool. Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
I know. But yeah, Dr. Luis Rocha. But it looks like it might be in Portuguese. So, no, it's written in both English and Portuguese. There you go. And a copy will be available soon. Cool. There you go. So for people who like books, the three of you out there who still read.
Who still read.
None of you are watching this particular live stream.
Did you say it's a Brazilian book?
Yes.
I'm just Googling that angelfish. Brazilian angelfish just comes up with loads and loads of flameback angels. So that doesn't help. Okay. Oh, well, I have to buy the book, won't I?
Well, there we go. And after the longest ever... go on.
That's a blue queen angel is what it is.
Blue queen angel.
Yeah. So it's obviously a queen angel, but like blue. That's actually what it's called. It's called a blue queen angel.
Yeah, I know. That's good. You could have kept quiet. It could have been the Prestige Reef Fish of the Week next week.
That's true.
Maybe you should get the book, and then you could be like, Prestige Reef Fish of the Week is
page 1.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Page next week, page 2.
That's not a bad shout.
And that concludes the news. Which is the longest news session we've had for a long time. And that's good because it means that there's lots going on. However, on that note, and we've reached 2 hours.
Yep, we've reached 2 hour mark. So
is there anything else you would like to say?
Nope, nothing from me.
Well, in which case, thank you for joining, Ryan. Thank you guys for watching. And I'll catch you next week.
Yep. See you later.
Bye, guys.